So now I'm stuck.
All right. So everything we do over the next 2 days has to do with lines and the angles that are formed by lines. So the lesson today is called Parallel Lines Cut by a Transversal. What do we know about parallel lines? Don't never touch. Okay? So my parallel lines here are
M and N.
M and N. So M is parallel to N. That's what that symbol means. Okay. You can also denote that they're parallel. Look on the lines. You see those little arrows there. That means that those lines are parallel. That's what tells you they're parallel. So don't ever assume that something is parallel. They have to tell you. So they have to tell you that M is parallel to N, or they've got to have these little symbols here that tells you that they're parallel. These lines are going to be cut by what we call a transversal line, which is going to be line A. Okay, so this is your transversal. Also, do me a favor and don't be confused, because I can take this picture and flip it this way, and guess what? That's still two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay, it doesn't matter which way it's flipped. Okay, it's all the same thing. So when you've got this picture, you've got different sections. You've got an exterior section and an interior section. If you are interior, that means what? Inside. So inside the parallel lines. So if we're talking interior, your angle is inside of the parallel lines.
It's going to be outside the parallel lines.
And then you've got outside the parallel lines, which is your exterior.
Transversal for?
That's this line here.
Okay.
Okay. That's called your transversal line. Okay. We're also going to deal with same side and alternate in this unit. Okay. Same side means everything on the same side of the transversal. So your angles will either be on the top or on the bottom of your transversal. Okay. If it's talking alternate, that means I have one on the top of it, one on the bottom. Or if it's flipped this way, one on the left and one on the right. Question. All right.
It's like 1 and 5 and 3 and 7.
So like 1 and 5 would be alternate. Yes. Okay. 3 and 7 would be alternate. 1 and 2 would be same side. 7 and 8 would be same side. Even 5 and 7 are same side.
They're not the same.
Because they're below the line. Okay. So let's talk about all these. So I'm going to shrink it down here a little bit so you can see everything here. All right. So the first one on the left says, I need to look at same side interior angles. Okay. So same side and then interior.
So 2 and 3.
You are a genius. 2 and 3. 2 and 3. They're inside your parallel lines on the same side of the transversal. So angles 2 and angle 3. There's one more set of same side interior. 6 and 7. Okay. It also says that these are supplementary. What does that mean? If you add them together, they equal 180. So add together, they equal 180 degrees. Okay, so we talked same side interior. Now we've got same side exterior. 1 and 4 and 5 and 8. This time they need to be outside the parallel lines. So if you cover up the inside, everything that outside is 1 and 4, 5 and 8. And they have to be on the same side, so on the top together and on the bottom together. So angle 4, and angle 1, and angle 5, and angle 8. Okay, so these ones also equal 180. Notice, same side supplementary. What do they both start with? S. That's a good way to remember that they're equal to 180. It's a good way to remember that they're supplementary. Okay. All right. Alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. Hold on. Read the full definition with me. Are non-adjacent. To be non-adjacent. Interior.
2, 7.
So 2 and 7. If they're non-adjacent, that means they cannot be side by side. Okay. So if you need to put something up here, non-adjacent. Not side by side. Okay, so this would be your angle 2 and angle 7, angle 6, and angle 3. So you had the right idea that they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so one's on the top and one's on the bottom. But your biggest thing to remember is they're non-adjacent angles. So they can't be side by side, which means 2 and 6 can't work.
Wouldn't they equal each other?
They're congruent, so they're equal.
So
That's an and symbol.
oh, never mind.
That's an and symbol. Sorry, guys. Yes, that means that they're equal. That's and.
It's still like blood.
Listen.
I was like, okay.
Sorry, that's my and symbol.
Everybody likes your name.
Right. Okay. So, alternate exterior angles have the same rules. Okay? They're outside this time, and they have to be non-adjacent. So, angle 1 and 8. Good. Angle 1's on the top. Here, let me write. And angle 8. And angle 5. And 4.
What does that say? I can't see. Angle 1, angle 8.
Angle 1 and angle 8. Angle 5 and 4.
When are you switching scenes?
Oh, yeah, we were supposed to do that today, too. Let's do it tomorrow morning. That sounds like a good idea.
I like my
They were all like, why did you have to remind her?
I mean, I'm fine.
You go wherever the cards tell you.
I just can't see. Like, oh my God, what's that? Nothing up there. What? What's that? Should I kill it? What?
It was just over the last.
Get it!
What was it? What is it?
Also think about lunch box.
I thought Justin.
Heck no. Oh, yeah.
I want the recoil.
Hello, friend. Somebody come get him.
Running?
Aja?
Where is it? That's
I thought it was like running out.
I just hope you were doing She said, "Run to the cut."
I don't know why it's a good time.
Oh my God.
I was so
Bro, I saw it.
Stay over there.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I can't.
We're safe. You can come back down. Woo! Don't worry. The Rush Attack is now on YouTube. The Rush Attack is made YouTube.
No one's gonna go to the school now.
Listen, are you good? Like propped up?
I'm straight.
Okay. All right. Woo! Okay, Kinsey, I'm gonna need you to stop talking. All right. All right.
The scariest thing about
Bring it back down.
down.
Woo! All right. So,
Where did they come from?
I don't know. The last new set of angles that we need to talk about, because the rest we've already talked about. Okay? The last new set we need to talk about is what we call a corresponding angle. Okay? They have corresponding positions relative to the transversal. Okay? This is the one that seems to get everybody like all out of sorts. Okay, so when you're talking corresponding angles, they can't be in the same group of four. Okay, so if I pick one angle from this section, I have to have a corresponding angle in this section.
So it'd be like 6 and 8.
Yes.
Hey, I'm smart.
Hey, you are smart. Okay, so Brandon said like 6 and 8. Or 2 and 4. 1 and 3. And angle 5. And angle 7. Okay. So it's kind of like if the angle's in the top left of this one, it corresponds with the top left of this one. Top right corresponds with top right. Bottom left with bottom left, bottom right with bottom right. So with corresponding angles, they cannot be in the same grouping. Okay? They have to be in two separate, I like to call them intersections. I like to think like I'm driving down the street and there's some Bojangles.
Miss Smith, it would be so not fine with me. You know what I did?
What?
I had all fatty food.
So did I. Don't feel bad.
All of that. I had so much fun. I had a lot of dessert.
All right. Vertical angles. We talked about vertical angles before we left for break. Remember, vertical angles go across the V when two lines intersect. So, if I give you angle 1 and angle what are vertical angles? 6. Okay, they go straight across this V.
So that'd be angle 2 and angle 5.
So angle 1 and 6, angle 2 and 5. We also have 3 and 8
4 and 7.
and 4 and 7. Okay, a linear pair. There are a ton of linear pairs up here. What do we know about linear pairs?
Make a line.
They make a line.
So 5,
Okay.
6, 7, and 8.
So 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 3 and 4, 1 and 2. You could do 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. Okay, there's a ton of them. So I'm going to list angle 3 and angle 7. And I'm going to list angle 3 and angle 4. So you can see that it can be up and down that create a line or left and right that create a line.
So they just have to create a line.
Yes. This last one, we really don't care about.
Then move on.
Non-relationship. Which two angles have no relationship? Like 8 and what?
8 and 1. 8 and 1.
8 and 1 are alternate exterior angles.
8 and
What about like 8 and 1?
8 and 2. 8 and 2 have no relationship. Okay.
5 and 4.
5 and 4 alternate exterior. 5 and 3 would not have one.
What did that say? And like 6 and 4.
6 and 4. Okay. Again, they're not ones we focus on because they're not ones that actually have a type of relationship. Okay. You're going to fold this up, and this glues in on page 106. We've got one more foldable.
What page did you say?
106. It can go in sideways. It's the only thing going on the page.
Joyce, do you mind if I take it to the town show?
I wonder if there was a $5 bill and shit had changed and also
What?
Oh, I actually ended up paying for his ticket too. Then he gave me $3 back.
She doesn't. No, what? I mean,
Oops. Wrong way. I did.
Probably the bathroom.
All right. So now that you know what they are, I must teach you how to solve. Okay. So now that we know what they are, I need to teach you how to solve. So the first one is a same.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Is that going to be the only thing? Wait, this one goes on 107, right?
That's what she's doing.
Oh, I thought she meant the other one.
What you doing?
Oh, they're borrowing my glue.
They're borrowing your glue.
Yeah, so I have to wait to get it back. I'm just kind of feeling like no pressure, stress.
Especially in school.
Don't do that. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yes.
No stress.
All
right.
Yeah.
Your bills go up because you have to pay for the city lights and all that.
Okay. We need to get this finished, please. Okay. All right.
Don't want to be here. Definitely didn't want to see her first.
Are you done now? Okay. All right. Same side interior angles. Same side. Which means they're what? Same side.
Supplementary.
Supplementary. That begins with an S. Okay? Same side angles are interior angles on the same side of the transversal. Whoops, sorry. I was trying to blow it up so everybody could see. They're interior angles on the same side of the transversal. So, this angle and this angle. They're same side. They're both to the left of the transversal. And they're inside my two parallel lines. Again, these symbols here mean that they're parallel. They could also be this angle and this angle. This time they're to the right of the transversal and still inside the parallel lines. And you just told me same side interior angles are supplementary.
Wait, those symbols mean that those can be same side?
The symbols that I used,
Yeah.
I'm just showing that it's the two on the left that go together and the two on the right to go together. All right, so if you're given this example, you should be able to first, one, look at the picture and say, okay, that same side interior. Two, you should be able to solve for x. If these are supplementary, how would I solve for x?
It's equals remaining 3x plus.
Beautiful. When I add these two together, whether you put 3x plus 60 or 60 plus 3x, does not matter which one comes first. But when you add them together, they should equal 180 if they're supplementary. So now we can solve for x.
120 divided by 30.
Okay?
40.
So the first thing I have to do is subtract this 60. So Rebecca then says I get 3x equals 120. And then she said, oh, divide that by 3. So x equals 40. So the problem that I've seen is this is basic. The stuff we're going to get in tomorrow is a little bit more difficult because you have multiple steps to it. Okay. But the hardest part is figuring out what type of relationship they have. Okay. So you really need to study those vocabulary to make sure that you know what you're doing. Okay. Corresponding angles. If you open it up. Corresponding angles have the same positions relative to the transversal. Okay. This is the one where if I have one angle in the top group of 4, the corresponding angle has to be in the bottom group of 4. So, again, if I do top left in this group, it corresponds to top left in this group. If I do top right in this group, it corresponds to top right in this group. I can also do bottom left and bottom left and bottom right and bottom right. The only angles that are going to be supplementary is if they create a line or if they are same side. Everything else is congruent. So corresponding angles are congruent. I think they actually wanted us to put equal there, but I like to use the actual math vocabulary because as you get into the higher math, they're not going to bring it down for you. So if we can get used to just using the bigger words now, the better off you are. You can put equal underneath of it if you need to remind yourself. Okay, so you need to be able to look at this picture and say, okay, these angles are corresponding. And then you need to know that if they're corresponding, they're congruent. So how would I set this up to solve for x?
63 equals 2x plus 1.
Good. 63 equals 2x plus 1. If you wanted to do 2x plus 1 equals 63, same thing. Doesn't matter. Okay? So my first step would be subtract that 1. So 62 equals 2x. X equals 31. Questions? Okay. Alternate interior angles. Ooh. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent angles that lie inside that should say the parallel lines. So let's add the parallel symbol in here somewhere. The parallel lines. Okay. Inside the parallel lines on opposite sides of the transversal now. So we're still in that middle section in between the two lines. Okay. But now I'm looking at this angle and this angle. Remember, they have to be non-adjacent, so they cannot be side by side. One's on the left of my transversal, one's on the right, and they're both still inside the parallel lines. Or I can look at this angle and this angle. Okay, this does not say same side, which means that these angles are congruent. Good. Okay, the only ones that are going to be supplementary are your same side, S and S. Everything else is going to be congruent. Okay, so when I solve for this one, $3x should equal 139. And when I divide by 3, x should equal 46.3333. So 46.3. Put that line over top of that 3 that shows that it repeats over and over and over again.
Are we actually going to get wrong like that?
More than likely now. Because then they usually want you to take it and plug it back in and actually get an answer for the angle and
No, I've been
Oh,
thinking,
yeah.
our final test is gonna be on everything we did. It's only like 35 questions. It's not gonna be a whole lot of questions like per thing.
They're
Or is
gonna
it like
focus
focus on
more
bigger?
on other sections than they do on.
Oh, sis,
Is this
the
one
minor
of the-
ones.
Is this one of the bigger ones?
Your biggest section probably that's going to be on your test is probably going to be quadratics. It's probably going to be your biggest.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So we don't want to do that, right?
Isn't that
Oh,
the thing we just?
Honey, I got you.
All right, true.
I got you.
Can't we just plug this stuff into the calculator?
This is easy.
Okay, that's.
So I gotta make at least
That's
a
the
B on
only
this
way
test.
I know.
Mom, I have to do this because this puts me to sleep.
It's fun.
Oh, tomorrow's stuff's going to be. It's going to hurt your head a little bit.
It's gonna be exciting.
Excitement. You know better.
And while I gave you the answers to your take-home quiz,
What?
it's going to hurt your head a little bit.
All right.
It's okay. Wait, when are you giving it to us?
It's tomorrow.
Oh, God.
It's your homework.
I might be able to get my
Multi-day?
Oh my goodness. All right. Alternate exterior angles. So the only thing that's changed is we lie outside the parallel lines now instead of inside. And on opposite sides of the transversal. So in other words, now I'm looking at this angle versus this angle, and this angle, and this angle. Again, they have to be non-adjacent, so they cannot be side by side. Okay, and they have to be outside of my parallel lines this time.
I didn't know that's cool.
I've literally had to have kids take their fingers and cover up the inside to know that it's the outside. If you need to do that to wrap your head around this concept, please do so. Okay.
I mean, that's a good way to teach it.
If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. So by all means. All right. These are not same side, which means that these are also congruent. Which means that 2x plus 1 should equal 101. Which means 2x is 100 and x is 50. How do the basics feel right now?
Great. It's 101 or 108. 101.
Our homework goes.
Just leave it alone.
I'm going
Leave it alone.
She said just leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
This clue's in on page 107.
She said, okay, just leave it alone.
I need to go.
Oh,
Is this the only thing?
Bro, you dropped your pencil. You dropped your pencil, bro.
I'm aware.
Can I use that?